Good morning. It's still morning. It's Monday. How are you? Today's my pal Alan's birthday. Pal Alan. So, hope you had a good weekend. We need to talk about inequalities now that we've talked about equalities. And I'm not going to do a bajillion lessons on the same idea, but you got to practice that, okay? So I'm going to just give a shout out to anyone who needs anything. Here's free advertising. Kuta software, Kuta, has a bunch of great worksheets. They don't have like how to, but they have all the answer keys there. So if you're working on anything at home and you just want to work and practice, Kuta software. All right, so we are going to talk today about hi peekaboo inequalities. Inequality. It's not just a societal problem. So let's talk about words for a second, shall we? Because math is counting and vocabulary. That's pretty much it. So equality means the same value. Okay? I mean, that's like a very distilled, simple answer, right? When we talk in math, we're usually meaning the same count. Okay? So it doesn't matter what unit you're counting in, it's the same count. 50 years, 4 ounces, 3 feet, 6 Skittles, 2.4 cupcakes. As long as, when we're counting, we're just wanting to make sure it's the same count. In the world of math, it's of equal value. It's the same value. It's not similar value. It is exactly the same. Do you remember our roots and our prefixes? Not roots. Prefixes, suffixes in this case. Prefix, before, whatever fix mean. I don't teach English. But, okay, so before the word. In before a word, what does it do to a word? It changes the meaning, basically the exact opposite. So instead of equality, meaning the exact same value, inequalities mean you do not have the same value. Okay, so here are some symbols. This is equal, right? This is unequal. Strictly unequal. It's not the same. This now, this, that, are all forms of inequalities. Okay, you probably saw those in elementary school. Okay, so this means exactly equal. It doesn't tell us much except for it just says it's not equal. It just means 3 and 5 are not the same. It doesn't tell us anything else about 3 and 5. It doesn't give us a relationship about 3 and 5, right? But it just says they're not of the same value. Okay, it doesn't say which is better and which is worse, right? These all tell us, give a relationship between, like a much more specific than just not the same. Okay, the same, not the same, and then versions, right? So I don't want to go over the idea of greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, less than, greater than. I just want us to recognize these are the symbols. Okay, now you might notice if it has this little bar, these have bars, these do not, these have bars. This means that there might be the possibility, we don't know totally, they might be equal. Okay? But we don't, because we're dealing in the world of algebra, where we're problem solving, right? We're saying, what are the possibilities? And in the possibility set is that they're equal. That's what these two mean. These two mean that in the possibility set, they will never be equal. One will be larger, one will be smaller, but they will never be equal. Okay? That's the possibility. These are more comparative tools. These are specific and exact. These 4 are comparative. It's like a crescendo in music. You get louder as you open. As you open, it's bigger. So you can think this points to the smaller number. It opens to the bigger number. I don't care. They're comparison tools. I'm not going to tell you what they're called until we get there. It doesn't, because it's immaterial ultimately. All right. So you on the same page with me on that? Or the same whiteboard? Okay. So what does that mean for us now? Man, my phone's just dinging off the hook. Something over there's dinging. Okay. Ding dong. It's like I'm in class. It's like I'm not missing anything. Hey, kids, can you turn your phones on silent, please? Okay. All right. I am on no sleep. No sleep. Okay. So let's just start with something simple, right? So let's do our 5 equal 5. We're not going to say does not equal 3, but we're going to look at 5 and 3. Okay? Which is the bigger number? That. So it opens to the bigger one. So when we read, like reading a sentence, we're not reading Hebrew. I don't know if you're aware. Hebrew, you read left to right. Sorry, right to left. So right to left. And people think that maybe Moses was left-handed because he was writing out the other way. We read left to right. I'm really bad with my rights and lefts. It's one of those things that I just tossed on my brain that I felt I didn't need to know. So we read this way. So we read 5. So now 5 is our object. Or excuse me, our subject, if we're talking sentences. 5 is greater than 3. Okay, 3 is the object. So 5 becomes the subject of the sentence because we're saying it first. I think if I want to equate, those of you who are maybe better at English than math. So 5 is greater than 3. 5 has been established first, so this symbol is the greater than symbol. But we could easily write same thing, but I mean, before I put this back in, right? We wrote the two numbers, we want to compare them. We open to the bigger number, point to the smaller number, same idea, but now 3 is the one in charge of the sentence. 3 is less than 5. Okay? I don't care. It's so dumb to waste your time memorizing which is which. And then doing the dragon teeth and greater than or less than. And then teachers make you memorize it and you take a quiz and then you get one wrong and you feel really dumb. Well, pulling this out of the sky, like, quick, what's that symbol? Why? Don't waste brain space on identifying that right away. Put it in the context. 5 is greater than 3. 3 is less than 5. It's a sentence. Okay? Pretty simple. So we're just going to do one example of what that would mean with an inequality. Okay? Or with a variable, excuse me. So I'm going to leave these up here so that we feel confident. Now I'm just going to pick one of these and I'm going to give it a variable. Okay? We're going to do a number line. We're going to say x is less than 5. Okay? So we know that 3 is less than 5, but is 3 the only number less than 5? 4 is less than 5. Can you think of ones that are less than 5? Well, this is less. This we've established is less. Less, less, less. 0 is less than 5. Are those it, though? What if I had 2.5 cups of coffee this morning? Is that less than 5? I haven't finished it. Okay? Is that less than 5? 2.5 is, what about, we talked about negative numbers, right? Is negative 7 less than 5? It is. When we say 7, we want to think bigger, but let's go back to our number line, right? Always 0 plus minus, right? We'll just make a mark. There's 5. We've established it. That's 5. We get to decide. Now, we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3 is less than 5. 4 is less than 5. 2, 1. We just counted those out, literally counted them out of my head. Well, where is negative 7? Well, if I want to add that out, that would be negative 5. That same distance from 0, and then 2 more hashes, there's negative 7. Well, is negative 7 less than 5? It is, because we are in the realm of total possibility here, of the entire world. So this is less than 5. All these things are less than 5. But then I talked to you about 2.5 cups of coffee, right? Which is right, 1, 2.5. Is that less than 5? Yes, it's less than 5. So that means I really kind of need to fill all this stuff in. This is all less than 5. How would I make that picture? I have 5 over here. Is 4.9 less than 5? Yes. Yes, it is. Right? Come on. You're like, come on, Miss Becca. So how do we represent this? Okay? I'm sure if you're even still watching, you're shouting at the video now. Like, this is so dumb. Like, it is lame. We write a circle. Because do we count 5? Is 5 less than 5? No, 5 is less than or equal to, because 5 is equal to 5, right? So it's not strictly less than. 5 is equal to 5. So we cannot count it in this relationship. But so what we do is we write a big circle to establish here's our end line, and we don't count it. And then everything else goes. And then so this is all fine to highlight this, right? And then we want to highlight the arrow because we mean forever. I like to think of inequalities this way in this picture representation, okay? Inequality versus, or excuse me, like we'll just take, it doesn't matter. We'll take less than versus less than or equal to. I like to think of it this way. So I live right here. It's awesome. I like it. North Minneapolis. On this side of my house is a fence. On that side of my house is a fence. The fence on this side of my house, in my backyard, belongs to me. It's my property. Like, it was put in by the previous owner. It is my fence. If I want to mess with the fence, I get to. The fence on this side of my house belongs to my neighbor. When I bought the house, there was no fence, and then when they bought theirs, then they put in a fence. I can't mess with that fence. That is not mine, okay? So we're going to start talking about more complex inequalities. This is just getting it started, okay? But I want you to think of when you have that open circle versus, probably you're already shouting at me, because if I did this, I'll do it in green, wait for it. If I did this and said less than or equal to, there's the or equal to, right? We fill it in because we're now counting 5. And you even still maybe want to have a slash through there to know, like, I'm counting 5, right? So this is my fence versus when it's open, that's my neighbor's fence, right? So we're talking about boundaries and the space between. Where's my yard is the question I'm trying to ask and answer, right? Well, my yard is between this line and this line. I include this line. I don't include this line. It's kind of the basics of inequalities. So the next lesson we'll have some examples and pretty much everything we're going to do for the next couple days, maybe this week, will involve a little number line graph, okay? And it's really going to help us as we graph lines soon. Whole year of algebra in COVID-19. That's what we're stretching for. All right. Have a good one. Oh, we're still filming. It didn't stop when I pressed stop.